The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cowboys Storyline. It is Tuesday, May the 28th, and we're just trying to get this show off the ground here. It's been a crazy day already at the start, not a lot happening. You know how it is. We don't like to talk weather on this podcast, but if the weather is the reason that things are changed, then we certainly need to. Bad storms last night in Dallas, early this morning, actually, and it's affected a lot of power. The building, the lights have just come on here. It's 1 o'clock Central Time, and I don't think the lights have been on for more than an hour. It's canceled a lot of the other shows already this morning. The break and talking we're supposed to go. Stay tuned to the website and the app for that schedule and when things will be changed. But a lot of stuff expected to happen today at the Star, and it didn't. So they're in the middle of their OTAs, which they'll resume tomorrow. So crazy day. A lot of stuff happening. More than anything, hope everyone is safe with their homes, and a lot of damage has been done in this area. So we're hoping to get some calls and some texts. You know, the text line's there, 817-290-3298. Call in 888-855-2297. Phone lines are open at the moment as we get this thing started. So I know it's been kind of crazy. Some of the other shows canceled may have kind of affected everybody thinking that we were not doing shows. And honestly, we were about to cancel this one until the lights came on. So hoping we can still get through a show. As Chris Beam just said, this could be the longest show because it might be the shortest show we've ever done. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If you're listening, though, call in. If you said, I've never called before, today might be a day to get in. I'm telling you right now, 888-855-2297. All right. As I said, OTAs happening this week. The day for the media is Thursday, so we'll get a chance to kind of see the players again on the field together. That's also the time they'll talk to the media. They have a media day event that they did. It's a 2-day thing they do kind of for in-house internal media. A lot of stuff that you see, you see on the Sunday night shows how where the player will say his name, in the intros before as the game gets started. A lot of that stuff is filmed here, and this is the day that's done. We had a station where we were going to do some cool things as well. So we'll see if we get a chance to do that. But that's what was canceled today, at least for today's portion of media days. So it's always a fun time to be able to see a lot of the players come and do some things. And couldn't help it when there's no power. There's only so much you can do there. All right, but let's try to get through this show. Let's see what we can do. Text question, Randy. Randy Seidel says, do you think something could be added to the players' bargaining agreement, like no single player salary should represent more than 25% of the team's salary cap? Well, that's going to be tricky, obviously, because I don't know if that's the right number. Maybe it's a little higher than that. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think there's something that needs to be done, without a doubt. If it's not that, it'll be. I think the NBA's got something there where they do with the exemptions and max contracts and players. It needs to be something like that because this is getting out of hand. And I think the quarterback number is just getting higher and higher, moving at a pace faster than the actual salary cap as a whole. And so it's a snowball effect. I mean, you see these contracts get done and these guys get paid, and they're the highest paid player in the league or at this position. And before you know it, they're like in 10th, and then they're 15th. So that happens, and that's, it's too bad, but I mean, that's just kind of the way this thing rolls. And so, when you're doing deals, you kind of almost have to project that. That's why the guys are getting so much money, and it just keeps stacking on top of each other, and it's getting out of hand. So, yeah, something definitely needs to be done. And I don't think you're wrong with that line of thinking. They just got to figure out which one it would be, and maybe there's something. I kind of think it'd be interesting to see if there's like one spot on your team, one $30 million exemption, something like that everybody has on their team, and you can use it for whoever you want. And it doesn't count to the cap. And, you know, if you use it as a quarterback, obviously, you know, these quarterbacks making more than that, but at least you can apply that or whatever. There's just got to be something. And again, I'm never going to be an economics major and all that kind of stuff, math wizard, but there's got to be something done because this is getting out of hand. All right, let's go to our first caller. It's Dylan in Northport, Florida. Dylan, what's up?
Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I was thinking the other day, I don't think I've ever given you my favorite wrestler. And I'm not into wrestling too much, but when I was a kid, I was kind of The Rock and Stone Cold and all those guys. But I was thinking about Rikishi, man. Rikishi with the stink face, right? That was that guy?
Right. Yeah.
We need some of that around here on that defensive line. We need some stink face guys, just some big dudes that just stink face some opponents, you know, up in the middle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, does that stop the run? I mean, like if the face is all good, but it's usually covered by a face mask and a shield and all that. You know what? I mean, hey, whatever stops the run. I don't think that many offensive linemen and running backs are going to be worried about that. But you know what? If I remember the wrestler you're talking about, I mean, he was a pretty big guy, right? Pretty wide body.
Yeah, he was like a sumo wrestler, kind of a little bit smaller, but it's kind of like a sumo type guy. He would sit on people. That's on people to sit on. Our defensive linemen to sit on some people, just push them over, man, clog up some lanes. That's all I want.
Exactly. That's that's the intriguing part of their 7th round pick, Justin Rogers. I mean, I'm not calling him a sumo wrestler type guy, but he takes some space, and you know it doesn't seem like he's trying to. You're not really going to move the pocket either way. You know, which is fine. Don't get pushed back. You're not expected to really make a big, cause going north, but just get in the way, take up a double team, and let someone else go and make the play. And
just don't let the linemen reach the second level. That's all I want. Just let the linebackers flow. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, you imagine the greatest linebackers in the history of the game typically had defensive tackles that are either Pro Bowlers or maybe even Hall of Famers. I mean, I'm not saying they weren't great players, but they had people in front of them doing stuff. And when those guys are out, it's funny how different the linebackers look.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. And then maybe introduce favorite Cowboys moment. I know a lot of people have called in with some of the other stuff, so maybe something new for us to talk about. My favorite Cowboys moment was 2007, the Bills game. Only game I've ever cried over before in my life, and I don't even know why I cried over. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It was out of the conference, but just the emotional roller coaster within that game really sent me on a spiral. Yeah,
that was an emotional season. There's probably a lot of crying moments in that season, good ones, bad ones. That was one of those games, and it's there's a lot of people that could say that was Romo's best game he's ever played, and also maybe his worst. And that's why it was his best game, because he overcame his worst moments. And, he threw like 5 touchdowns in that game. Just 2 of them went to the Bills, So, I mean, it was, I don't know if he threw that many, but, I mean, it was a tough, weird game. And
the turnovers, the 2 field goals at the end. I mean, I never seen anything like that before in my life.
Yeah. Well,
it was great.
That was a little bit when it was just starting to happen, where the coach would call the timeout to freeze the kicker. It was just kind of in that time where that was becoming a thing. Now you see it a lot. Now they don't, they really don't snap the ball, and that like that. But they, the interesting part about that second kick by Nick Folk that went through the uprights is LP Ladouceur, the deep snapper, actually told them in the huddle right before the second kick that I'm going to pause this time. I'm gonna have a little bit of a pause and a delay. And if you notice on the left side of the Cowboys line, they actually drew an offsides penalty on.
He got back though. Yeah.
They threw the flag too. So if he had missed that,
they did. Okay.
They were going to move 5 yards forward, and I don't know if he would have any leg left, but he was going to have to try. And at that point, it was 53, because I remember T.O. said it was a 106-yard field goal. So move it up to 40. He didn't have to. He drilled it, and that's probably why he made the Pro Bowl that year, just that moment right there. I mean, he had a great season, but everyone remembers those kicks.
I remember the offsides. I didn't ever realize all this time. I didn't realize I actually threw a flag on that. Because I remember he jumped off and then looked like he got back, but then he was really delayed in getting to the across the line at that point.
Yeah.
That's a cool little piece of insight there.
Yeah. Well, that whole game has got weird stuff. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, they ran out of footballs, so they only had one football on offense. They only the equipment manager was tired of getting them taken when they went to games. The one with the Cowboys logo, they would take 24 balls, and when they went to AFC places that they never went to, they would always get stolen, swiped by other ball boys, other people. So they said, "Screw that, we're only taking 12." So they took 12 footballs. No big deal. It'll be fine. Well, I mean, Romo throws 5 picks and loses a fumble, so every defensive player takes the ball away. There was a kick return for a touchdown. Somehow that was a Cowboys ball that was used. So next thing you know, I mean, within the course of the game, they're really only down to one football. And there is a play where they throw an incomplete pass. Usually the ball's way down the field. They'll just take one from the side. They go and get that football. You can tell. You see it on the screen. They're throwing that football back. It's the only one that they had. I'm sure they would have gotten a penalty or something and finished the game with other balls. But so that's another dynamic that was going on in that game as well. It was weird. It was
that's
a
crazy
day. Yeah. There was a fire outside of the stadium. A fire that actually blew up some of the network trucks. I don't know. Chris might even remember that if that. But I mean, I know Marion Barber's house got broken into that morning when they got back from Buffalo. He comes home and his whole house had been broken into. That was a sad thing there. I mean, there was some other sad moments that kind of happened in that whole little course of the game. So really an interesting game, just on top of what you actually see in those 4 quarters. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing that, I mean, all this stuff, right, because you're part of it. Us outsiders just looking at I had no idea about any of that stuff. That's absolutely amazing.
It's almost
That's
like
crazy.
a documentary needs to be made about that game only.
Oh, yeah, Deep Blue.
All right.
Deep Blue.
Yeah.
Just real quick,
You're
my
good.
actual call here.
You're good, man. You might just take the whole show with me here. You're
All right, let's do it. I have a couple of guys here, and we won't really know an answer, I guess, until probably some of the preseason games and like in the training camp and all that. But I have a couple of what's the plan guys I'm looking at here, and that's Trey Lance and Deuce Vaughn, and especially Deuce Vaughn. We kind of know that Trey Lance is going to get, the preseason snaps and all that. But, like, when they drafted Deuce Vaughn, like, what was the plan? Like, he wasn't going to go to China and get, like, this leg extension surgery and become taller. His frame can only support so much weight. So, like, what was the plan in drafting him? And, like, are they going to actually give him a chance to do something? Not against the guys, like you always say, that are going to be, grocery baggers here at some point in time, but these guys that are actually starting and have a chance to make a roster in the NFL. Like, what's their plan with him?
Well, I mean, I think the plan was to see if he was a dynamic college player, and let's see if it translates. I mean, most of the NFL was saying that he wasn't going to. That's why he drafted in the 6th round. So the plan was to see if he can overcome even what everyone thinks he can't. He's got skills. I mean, he showed them in big games in college. He showed them against some of the top teams. I mean, he's got a highlight of 75-yard run, 60-yard run against Alabama. I mean, like half of the defense, I'm sure, is in the NFL. So, I mean, he showed it in college, and that's what you want to see. I mean, sometimes these guys are wrong about what they think they can be, and they knew him better than any other player because he's the son of Chris Vaughn, who they've seen them. A lot of those guys. I mean, Chris Vaughn's been with the team more than 10 years, so all these guys they've seen him grow up all the way throughout. His junior high, high school, college, all these days. So they had a good read on the player. They thought maybe that was the plan was to see if he had something, and if he does, you can figure out how to utilize those kind of guys: punt return, kick return, third down, gadget back, things like that. And so it was looking promising in the preseason, but the big boys show up in the regular season, and it's a little bit different. So now the goal for him. Can he make that jump? Can he make a leap? Can he do a first to second year leap and show that he can be a difference maker? He's got to break tackles. I mean, that's the key. He's got to be able to break tackles.
Well, and he can't be touched is the thing.
Yeah,
He's so small. Like once you touch him, he's down. He's got to juke these guys out, and then he uses agility, which I know he has.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of being able to utilize it. So
yeah. Well, you know, and who's the other guy you mentioned?
Trey Lance, I mean, we kind of know the plan with him, but it'll be interesting to see if he has a really good preseason. Do they pull him out of, the first two games? Do they pull him out of game 3? Do they use him as trade bait? Do they use him as leverage in contract negotiations? Or is he potentially the starter next year? I mean, there's so many angles this thing can go. So I'm really interested to see the plan with him as well.
Well, I don't. The plan is to play him. That's the plan. The plan is to play him, and I'm not going to compare him to other players, but I mean the plan was to play Tony Romo in the preseason back in 2006. Give him the whole game, see what happens. Well, he played pretty well. He had like 14 straight completions and managed the game well, and they went and they won the game, and and then now it's like, all right, well, now we got to see him again. Now, could he actually replace Drew Bledsoe one day? Maybe. That's all it starts. I mean, you don't get ahead of yourself because you don't know. The plan is to give him a lot of reps in the training camp and the preseason, probably more reps in practice than you would normally see from a third quarterback, which you can do that when you have a second-year offense like this. I mean, it's not the first year of an offense. So Dak and Cooper Rush maybe don't need as many reps as they did last year. You're kind of understanding what they got going on, and then you just see what you've got. You see what you've got when he gets in the game, and then from there, you'll be able to see. There's gonna be a lot of factors going on. Then you get into the regular season. How are the Cowboys playing? How's Dak playing? What's happened around the league? Did he play well enough where another team's like, I'll give you I'll give you a first-round pick, a second-round pick, whatever it is. So that's kind of why they traded for him, just to see.
And I mean it's such an interesting dynamic that if he does play well, like what actually could possibly happen? There'll be so much drama around it. Know that already. There already is a lot of drama around it, but that's going to be up by 100, and it'll just be interesting to see kind of what route the Cowboys go with Trey and if they stick to their guns with Dak or what they end up doing. But yeah, you're right. First things first, he's got to play well. That's step one.
Right. So. Yep. Well, that's kind of where it stands. So, well, Dylan, we appreciate the call. You may be one of one today. This might be this is all we've got here. But I know we're dealing with some technical issues in some way. We've had too many calls on these shows lately to not have it. So just dealing with a lot of stuff with weather and these phone lines and power. I'm sure it's factoring in with a lot of it. But we really appreciate your call today. A lot of good stuff.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Talk to you later.
See you later. All right. That was Dylan. That's our only call. Right now we've got the lines are open. This will be, as we said, this will probably be one of the shorter shows that we've done. We'll do another text question here. This is from Melvin. Melvin. He's from Ocean City, New Jersey. Dan Quinn's defense scheme played a lot of big nickel, and the safeties were constantly making big plays and creating turnovers. Mike Zimmer's scheme sounds like it will have a few bigger linebackers on the field instead of hybrid safeties. Do you think this will lead to fewer big plays by our secondary? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. When were the safeties making all these great plays? Like when did that happen? I mean, they made some tackles, but I mean, Javon Curse, he didn't make any plays at the end of the season. I mean, he hasn't signed. He hasn't come. I mean, he didn't make any big plays last year. I can't remember. I mean, Donovan Wilson. I mean, he struggled some for most of the year. And then he finally kind of played okay there towards the end. Hooker, had a few plays here and there. But I mean, you've got me. I mean, sometimes I don't remember a lot that happened. Yesterday, so I can't remember that. But I'm not remembering a bunch of safeties making all these great plays. I think it was a nice job by Marquise Bell with some of the tackles. But I think this defense suits them better. Yeah, you might have, you might have fewer. You might have a little bit more big plays down the field. You might have a harder time with tight ends. That's one thing that I think could happen from a matchup standpoint. Because with any mismatch, just think about basketball. You guard versus a center. I mean, if it's a rebound, I mean, it's probably not good for the guard. Or jump ball's not good for the guard. But if you're out in the open space, like let's say Luka's on Rudy Gobert and the game on the line, just hypothetically, probably not good for the center. He's going to look like an ice skater out there. So I'm saying all mismatches are that way. When it's 3rd and 9 and you've got that type of linebacker safety up against the tight end, that's pretty good. When it's 3rd and 3 and the guard goes and tries to block them, not so good. So I think you're going to see probably more linebackers that can help stop the run. Stopping the run is the key. They may have a harder time with the tight ends. That's the one thing I could think of. But you have to give up something to get something, and that might be what they do. All right, let's go with another text question here. Actually, we'll save that one. We'll go to the caller. Josh in Chicago.
Hey, Nick, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm down on the beach. I came in to put the kids down for a nap, was looking to see if I could get on StoryLine, and one call today, man. So sorry about the technical issues, but it worked out for me.
It works out. That's right. So you're in the beach, so you're not in Chicago.
No, I'm actually never in Chicago. I'm in the Marine Corps. I'm just from Chicago.
There you go. That works. All right.
Yeah, yep.
Sounds good.
But, enjoying the beach today over the long weekend. So.
All right, cool. What do you got, man?
So I was just going to comment real quick on the Dak contract that everyone seems to want to talk about. And I think one of the things that's interesting is, if I remember correctly, when he signed this deal, I kind of think back to how the franchise tag maybe hurt them with this, even till today, because I think he wanted a short deal and then wanted to be able to renegotiate in free agency again. And that year on the franchise tag kind of pushed off the deal even another year, where he could have maybe already been renegotiated a year ago or 2 years ago. And we might not even be having this contract talk about Dak right now.
Right.
And I do think – oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it would have been interesting if his contract was up after last season, as he led the league in interceptions.
Right.
I mean, so it all kind of worked. I don't know if you could say it's all worked out, but it's just his whole career has been – I wouldn't call it a roller coaster, because he's been better than he's been – not so good. I mean, he's had a really good career. It's just kind of, there's been higher points in the year, than others throughout his career. And so, it's working out well, but it's still, he's got to have a really good season this year if he goes into, contract year again.
And, I'm a Dak guy, so I'll just say I think he'll have a good year this year. And I think part of it is Trey Lance. I hope Trey Lance plays awesome in the preseason, because I think every year that Dak has been put under pressure, whether that was 16 with Romo or last year coming off the interceptions, he thrives under that pressure, right? And maybe having Trey Lance sitting in the back there, waiting in the wings, might, if he's playing well, maybe that, propels Dak to play even better in the playoffs. Hopefully we get those playoff wins next year.
Yeah. It's weird because he's not like he's young. Like Trey Lance is not like he's got 3 years on his contract. So he might be waiting in the wings, but he doesn't have a contract after next year. So that's what makes it interesting too. But you're right, Dak. Dak has dealt with more, tragedy in his life that has nothing to do with football. And so that's what people don't understand sometimes about athletes, coaches, celebrities, maybe whatever it is. You don't even have to be on a high profile person, but when you're staring adversity in the face, or when you've been, at the bottom, rock bottom, how you handle, how you get out of that is really what you are, and defines your character. And so he is built for moments like this. He was built for that last year, and that's why. And you can yell at me if you want to say, well, then why has he not played well in the playoffs? That's fair. That's fair. But he's built for moments like this, and that's why I think the Cowboys believe that he can get the job done, that he will get the job done. It hasn't happened. He hasn't played as well. I mean, they haven't just lost because of Dak. Well, they didn't win because of Dak in some of those games either. So let's and that even goes back to his rookie year. I mean, he brought him back from a hole that he dug him into.
He dug, So, that Green Bay game.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, again, you say you're a Dak guy, we all are. I mean, honestly, I think everybody loves this guy. I mean, of what he does, what he says, who he is as a person, and everyone's rooting for him. But there's been times it hasn't worked, and when you're the quarterback, that's what you expect. So,
yeah, I agree with all that, and I think he will. I mean, I think this is, and if he doesn't, then this year, then maybe it is time to move on, right? That's kind of the other side of this coin that might work out really well, right? Is,
Right.
hey, get out, build the line back up, get some good receivers, get a good defense, get a new coach, do all these things, right? And just take the Band-Aid off if this season doesn't work out, right? So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping he gets back to that poise that he had his rookie year, especially in the playoffs, because I remember, in 2016, that poise he always had, it never seemed like the big game was too big for him. And lately, the playoffs seem like they're too big for him. So hopefully he gets some of that poise back, especially if they make the playoffs this year.
Yeah. Well,
But-
he needs a running game. There's no doubt about it. Most quarterbacks do. Most quarterbacks do, and that's something that they need.
And a defense to stop the run would be nice.
Fair. I mean, all those things are great. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call, Nick. Have a great day. I'll be listening.
All right, Josh in Chicago, from the Marines and the beach. Let's go to Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
How's everything?
Great.
I'm good. Everything's good. Had a great Memorial Day. Hope everybody did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was good until the storms came in and knocked out all the power and kind of messed up the whole week, and it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, I had some relatives in trying to go back to New York and forget it, the flight.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. There's nothing worse when you're looking at the radar and you're like, it looks, it's like red, purple, and then it's like, all right, let me go to the next 3 hours, and it's the same. Like, it's just nothing's changing. So, yeah, when it's 5 a.m. and you're like, this is going to clear up at 11, you're like, all right, well, how much hail's going to hit? But it's all right. I think everyone's good for now.
Good.
So what do you got?
Listen, Trey Lance, he should play good in the preseason. I mean, he's not a rookie, and I mean, let's face it, if he's not good in the preseason, they might as well just cut him. I mean, so I assume he's going to play good, but the problem is, and let's be honest, as good as Jerry Jones is as a businessman, he blew this. All 3 quarterbacks are free agents after this year. So it's like, what are you doing? I mean, Cooper Rush, say what you want, maybe not a superstar, but I think he's 5-1 as a starter for this team. Pretty good. Trey Lance, have no idea. Let's be honest, he looks the part, but we don't know. And Dak, listen, Dak is great in the regular season. Top 3 quarterback maybe in the regular season. The issue is the playoffs for whatever reason, and if we knew the answer, obviously we'd fix it. We discussed $53 million is probably the going rate. Offer it. That's what Goff got. And if he doesn't take it, then, I think he looks bad because he said, he doesn't play for money. But I don't know what to do. But I got to be honest, I don't know what are the Cowboys waiting for to sign CeeDee Lamb and a Dak Prescott. I mean, what the numbers are. Tyreek Hill is the highest paid at 31. So CeeDee Lamb is right there. Okay, what do you want to put him at? Number 2 or number 3 in the league? So I don't know
is he worth 35?
No, I don't think any wide receiver is worth 35.
So
especially if you don't have a quarterback.
Okay, but so you're saying he's not worth 35? Well,
no, I 31, right. 31.
Okay, but as I said this other day, and Rob, you know this, like these contracts, they are two-way streets. Like these guys are not waiting there with a Sharpie or a pen to say, I'm ready to sign the deal. They are asking for money that is not where the Cowboys want to pay them. They don't.
Well, wait a minute. Do we know that is CD asking for 35?
What he's asking for is not what the Cowboys are looking to do right now. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that he's asking for 35. I don't know if the Cowboys are asking for 25. We don't know that. We're not supposed to know these negotiations. We know that they're not done. We know the Cowboys are probably trying to wait for Jefferson. I think, and Jefferson's waiting for CD.
I understand it, but we talked about why they wait. It always hurts them. You have to be first, not last. You want to get in now before Jefferson. Because if Jefferson, I don't know, let's just say goes to 32.
But, Rob, CD and his agent don't want to do that. They don't want to be second. They want to be first. First in the money. So they don't want to go first, and then Jefferson goes over them. They don't want that. That's important to them. It's not important to all players, but this one, it does seem like that the Jefferson CD thing it's like the agents are sitting there just waiting to see who goes first here. Like the old saloon, these two Cowboys are just waiting to see who draws first. And
for me right now, your priority has to be Dak. He's opened the door with making comments, and you gotta sign him. I mean, at the end of the day, if you told me I could get somebody better, I'm all for it, but you cannot. And this team is too good to just blow it up, and he's the top domino that has to fall first. You get him in the building, done. You save money. Then CD says, well, I want to play with a really good quarterback. Because let's face it, every wide receiver that is considered great had a great quarterback.
Right.
They're hand in hand. So to me, CD doesn't want to go somewhere where there's some scrub playing quarterback. So I think you have to get Dak done. The longer you wait, the more it costs. I think this is a great window because 53 is now on the table. And even though 53 is an incredibly large amount of money, it's not 60. So I can't see how Dak could justify, if it ever got leaked, that he wants 60 when 53 is the next number up.
Yeah.
So to me, jump on it. Let's go. Dak says he wants to be here. Jerry wants him here. Get it done now, going into training camp, and then let it save some. And then I'm sure CD would sign. But I just don't know. Like I said, you have no quarterbacks. Everybody's a free agent. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
We have a whole quarterback staff.
Well, you said it.
Players are free agents.
Yeah. Well, Rob, you said it like Jerry blew it. Like, let's wait. Can we wait to see if he really blew it before it's bad? I mean, like
well,
you think it might be, but what if it works out perfectly? Like, I'm not ready to say he blew it when we don't know how this thing's going to end up. They're all under contract.
The only thing that's going to work out, listen, it's going to work out because I can't imagine unless, listen, Dak is great in the regular season. Pencil him in 30 touches, unless, God forbid, he gets hurt.
Great.
He's great in the regular season.
That's awesome. That's exactly what I want my player to be. Honestly, I want my player to be great in the regular season.
Yeah.
So that's a great start. Then we'll see what happens from there. Better than the other way around. Better than the guy that finishes 2-15, and he's like, you know what? Just get me in the playoffs, though. I'm about to roll. I mean, it doesn't work that way. So you know what? I'm fine with this.
I think do it now because the longer you wait, it's going to cost you more money. I don't know. Waiting, you can't wait in this league when you're dealing with the top guys.
Okay.
They, like you said, it just goes up. Get it now.
All right.
And but
good.
Hopefully everybody's good in Texas. I hope the weather, isn't too crazy. That's one thing I don't deal with here in Vegas, and never would want to deal with it. So just hopefully everybody's good.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob, for the call. And I'll just say this, and I've reiterated again. It's just there is more to it than just getting it done. I mean, because getting it done sometimes means you have to just give in, and they're not in a position really to do that financially as well. They're trying to make this work for both sides, and everyone's got an agenda, including, Dak's side, CD's side, Micah's side, and all that. Micah's kind of that seems to be, I would say, a distant third right now in the priorities. And you know what? I'm sure the Cowboys don't even say that. They probably have other guys in mind too, because that's what happened last year. We were talking about Dak last year, definitely talking about CD, and Diggs, and then Diggs got done first, and then you're like, oh, then Hooker gets done. You didn't even know Zach Martin was a thing, and then that has to get done. So, it's still a long time before that's really got to happen. And I understand nobody likes to go into a season that way, but it's probably going to be that way, where a lot of these things aren't even going to be done till in the season, maybe even afterwards. All right, let's go to Chris in San Angelo.
Hey, Nick. Hope you're doing well today.
Good. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, too. Hey, I was going to go back. I'm thinking back when I was back in the 70s, even when I was just a little kid, I watched this guy play against the Cowboys. His name was Roy Green. And every single time he played against the Cowboys, he burned them. right? Like there was nobody that could cover him, no Pro Bowlers or anything. So what my question to you is, in your time, who is the biggest Cowboy killer that you can remember?
There's only one. Okay.
Well, I know you might say Aaron.
Who? Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron, yeah.
No.
But
no.
I'm talking about somebody just like week in, week out, for some reason couldn't block him, couldn't cover him, whatever.
I'm not even typing anything to Chris. If he's listening, I guarantee you Chris is gonna say the name because we lived through this, okay? We never beat this guy. Chris, who is it?
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers.
Wait.
No.
No?
We're talking the guy that they were going to draft, and they decided not to
Oh, Randy
draft.
Moss.
It's Randy
Moss.
It's Randy Moss. Yeah. I mean, they never beat him. He went to the Vikings. He went to the Raiders. He went to the 49ers, and they never beat him. And he went back to the Vikings. I think it was 7-0 against them. So
yeah,
that's the one. And that's not only he just dominated them because he was here. He was there. You could draft him. And he took Greg Ellis, which is a good, solid player. But
and hopefully a good coach.
But his jacket's not gold, and I mean, and I love Greg Ellis. And Greg Ellis got unfairly compared to a wide receiver his whole career. It was unfair for him. But that's the only name that pops up to me. And you're right, Aaron Rodgers that's been a playoff type thing, and he's been a guy, and it was Tom Brady when they played him. I mean, they didn't play him all the time. They didn't play him all the time, but Randy Moss was the one that just just always.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you put on him; he's scoring.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the '80s when they weren't very good, I'm sure they didn't block Lawrence Taylor all the time. Lawrence Taylor was probably the guy that you thought of because he could wreck the game, and he did wreck a few games. But Roy Green, Roy Green played for the Cardinals.
Yes, St. Louis.
Yeah, right. And when the Cardinals beat the Cowboys, there was a parade. I mean, like that's just what happens. I mean, that's the type of franchise that they were. So, and Roy Green, if I remember, he actually started his career, or maybe even played defensive back, little bit of both there. But
he was. Yeah, I just remember me and my dad always had conversations whenever they played St. Louis. He was like, well, Roy Green's going to get his, but let's hope we can figure out the rest.
Yeah. There was a game on Monday Night Football. They played the Cardinals, and I'm sure Roy Green was playing on one side, but the other receiver, his name was Pat Tilley, and he caught a touchdown, or he ran to the one and spiked it at the one. That was before instant replay. They ended up winning the game. The Cardinals did win the game, so there was probably a parade the next day. And that was a big deal, was that he spiked it. There was no replay, and that nowadays they would have caught that. I still don't understand why players spike it or drop the ball beforehand. It makes no sense why they drop the football at the one. That's
hold it like a loaf of bread until you're about 5 yards deep. Come on.
Flip it to the official or dunk it over the goalpost. One of the two.
Exactly.
Unless you're down by 30, then you don't dunk it over the goalpost, Antonio Bryant, but that's another story. That's fine.
Right. But that was going back a while, but that was one that came to my memory, and
Randy Moss.
I was surely assured that you had one.
Unfortunately, yeah. He was
yes,
awesome.
sir.
He was awesome. So
all right,
Chris.
Okay,
thanks for the call.
Take care, Nick, man.
All right, we're going from San Angelo to Germany. A little different, but we're going to Germany. Zach in Germany, what's up?
Nick, what's going on, man?
How are you?
Oh, good, brother. Sorry, man. I tried to call you guys last week, but I was on vacation. Didn't get through.
Well, today's the day. Today is the day you can get it through. What's on your mind?
Good. I got a couple things. I was looking at some of our draft again, and I was running over the running back selections, or lack thereof, on our end. And do you think that there's ever going to be a comparison how we had, Greg Ellis to Randy Moss? In the back of my mind, I can't stop thinking about, man, we could have had Trey Benson over, let's say, Nealand, or Jalen Wright over Maris Luafau. Are you going to have those types of comparisons when you're looking back?
I don't think so, because as you get later on in the draft, you kind of kick yourself a little bit more, less. I'm sorry, kick yourself less because of that. It's later on. The Moss thing was different because everyone knew he was awesome. Everyone knew he was special. Can you deal with what the off-field issues are, and can he deal with it here because of Michael Irvin? And Michael Irvin was the first to admit that Randy Moss isn't here because of me, because of what's been happening here in the 90s. Could we put Randy in this situation? But we all knew his talent was there. And there was 15 teams that had him off the board, so they didn't want to mess with him. When you get to the second, third, fourth, fifth round like that, like Tom Brady's, is there people kicking themselves? Yeah, there was probably somebody that says, I want Brady. And they're like, no, we're not taking Brady. We're taking this guy. So, yeah, they probably kicked themselves. And so if it was that close with Trey Benson, like it was a big fight in the room, I just don't think it was, then no, I don't think that. I mean, there's always players that you could have taken, and you're like, I wish we would have gotten him, but it just didn't work. But as it gets later on in the draft, you don't think about it the same as you do when it's a first-round pick and it's like right there, either or, this guy or this guy. I remember.
I guess the only.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. The only counter argument to that would be, since running back is now more of a devalued position.
Yeah.
You have guys. Look at Breece Hall, right? So Breece Hall falls, and you have other guys that now fall into the second round that back in the 90s would have been first-round talents. Now, I'm not saying Trey Benson was, but he very well could be in that same category where, in a few years, Nealon might be a Charles Tapper. I know it's different second to fourth rounder, but you get my point.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I mean, that's always tough. But.
Yeah, but I think the saving grace to it is that if the guy in the second, third, fourth round shines, he develops, everybody passed on him 3 times. Everybody. That's more about him. It's more about him being, something that most people did not think he would be. And so, Tom Brady made every team in the league look foolish, including the Patriots. Because they passed on him 5 times. So he impressed all of them. And so I just, if Trey Benson or whoever turns out to be a great running back, then that's great. But obviously the Cowboys just didn't see it. And, yes, it's devalued, but we're only 1 year removed from 2 running backs getting picked in the first 12 picks last year. It was Bijan and then Gibbs. So if there's
no doubt,
if there's
a different talent level, right?
If there's a special running back, if they're special, they're not overlooked that much. So they're still there if they're deemed special. So.
I think where I was surprised by it, where it's more really, I guess it's a tip of the cap to Zimmer, right? Because you have him getting 2 defensive players in those top 4 picks. And I think that's where I was a little surprised, especially
right.
I knew that this running back draft class was going to be, second, third, fourth round where you can get a good player. And, I understand we had depth needs elsewhere. So
yeah.
Last question, and I'll let you go. Is there a draft pick that you thought, maybe was going to be something and never got the shot or couldn't get on the field? And I'll give 2 examples. I said one before was Charles Tapper. You remember Matt Johnson? I think he was a third-round pick years ago, couldn't stay healthy. You have anybody that comes to mind on your end?
A lot. A lot of guys because, when you were drafting them, like when I first started, it was in 2000. So, none of those guys turned out to be that good, But I'm just looking through a little bit to say, like, all right, which guys did I think were going to be, like, really, really special? There's so many. Who else did you have? See, I honestly thought that that 2000 draft, I thought Kareem Larimore was going to be great. Everything okay? So you break something over there?
My dog kicked the can on the sidewalk.
Come on. Yeah, well,
literally.
Not literally. Yeah, hopefully it literally kicked the can. No, I'm looking at these guys. I thought Jalen Smith was actually. I thought he would overcome that injury and be better. I didn't think Taco was going to be really good. I'll be honest with you there.
Taco, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, actually,
how about?
I know. If there's other guys in the line, I'll
how about Connor? How about Connor McGovern? Connor McGovern.
McGovern, yeah.
Penn State. I thought he was going to be a guy, and you got to think about this too. like everyone just thinks BB's going to be this great player, and he looks like he could be, but he's a third-round pick. Connor McGovern was a third-round pick. Connor Williams was a second-round pick. You know, he's got some warts on him as well. So there's a reason why he fell like he did. But you know, I mean, it looks the part. But I'm just saying, with these linemen, they don't always pan out. But yeah, that is one for sure that I thought would be a little bit better than he's been so far. So,
do you think we maybe have a scouting issue? And the reason I say that is coaches change over the years when it comes to like our defensive tackle evaluation. Because I mean, look at our offensive tackles. Every time we draft a guy, we're offensive linemen for the most part, except first rounders, plug and play, a lot of Pro Bowlers. Do you look at our defensive tackle evaluation? Maybe we haven't done a good job there the past several years. And I know it's early for Mozzie, but Taco's a good example of a D lineman that we took high. Who was it that we took in the second with Marinelli's guy?
Tristan Hill, Tristan Hill. And you got Neville Gallimore. He didn't really pan out like you would have thought. Osa has.
Chauncey Goldston is decent. I think Osa's overperformed. But do you think maybe we're just not evaluating that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, if you go back to 16, Malik Collins, he actually played pretty well. I think more than anything, though, the defensive tackle position seems to be, predicated on what type of scheme you're playing, and more than others. You know, if you're a corner, you're a safety, you're gonna play what do what you do. Linebacker could be one, you could argue that as well, but I think defensive tackle, I mean, if you're a 3-4, defense, if you're a 4-3, if you're a hybrid, if you play inside, if you play outside, if you're really a nose but you're playing in the 3 or vice versa, I mean, you can change a lot. And I think that you've had some different defenses in here, different defensive line coaches, asking them to do different things. And so I don't think it's been one where it's just, you're drafting these guys for a different scheme. How many different coordinators have we had here in the last 4 or 5 years? I mean, it's been like 5, right? 4 at least. 4 coordinators now in the last since 2019 with Marinelli. So I mean, you've had different coordinators, and I think that might affect it a little bit. All right, Sure. Thanks for the call, Zach. Let's go one more. Let's go to Mike in England. Mike, you there?
Hello, Nick. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, so I haven't been able to listen so far this evening, so I hope you're having a really good show.
Yeah.
First time I've been able to call since the schedule came out, and got to say I was really, really disappointed because I had 3 shots at getting to a Cowboy game because I'm going to be over in New York City and Washington in October, and I thought, if that doesn't pan out, then there's the Panthers game. I could get over to Germany and see them, but not to be. When I'm over, Cowboys are on the other side of the country in San Francisco. So there we go. But I'm going to get to the Jets against the Texans, which I'm sure will be lots of fun. It's not my Cowboys, but one day we'll tick that box.
Okay.
But Nick, I've recently been reading a book I finished a couple of weeks ago by an up-and-coming author. It's called If These Walls Could Talk. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I have. I heard. I don't know if he's that up-and-coming. He sounds like he's on his downward ways there as an author. Either way, all good.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it, apart from Chapter 8, which was a little bit traumatic. I wasn't quite ready for that, reading all these wonderful football stories, and then that chapter sort of takes your breath away a little bit. But I wondered if, because it's 10 years since the period that's covered, and I just wondered, just a quick call today, I'll ask this and then leave you to it. I wondered if you'd got any thoughts about doing an updated version, and if you did, who from the last 10 years would you get to write the foreword this time?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, they're new walls. You know what I mean? The walls are not at Valley Ranch anymore. So yeah, maybe so. I don't ever close any doors on when it comes to writing books. the funny thing about that is I had a book deal done where If These Walls Could Talk while I was writing another book. So I'd actually had 2 book deals done before I'd even written one word. But they were like, yeah, let's do this one, and it worked out, and it's still the one that most people still read the most because even though it's outdated, like you said, it's still got some old stories in there. As for the forward, I don't know. I mean, maybe a current player that's been around. I have a couple of names in mind, but I certainly wouldn't want to throw them out there right now. I hadn't talked to anybody about that. I hadn't even talked about writing a book. So that would be the least of my concerns on getting the forward, because really, the forward, you're just doing an interview with the guy. You're doing an interview, you're asking him stuff, and then you piece it together in a first-person thing. It's really not. It's actually, I'll tell you that secret. It's not as glamorous as it does to the guy. So there's not a player sitting at his computer just thinking like old Doogie Howser, like sitting there like, I'll write this. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. But either way, if I can come up with enough stories and there's an interest with a publisher, sure, why not? Because it has been relatively successful, because it's one that when people that say, hey, you wrote a book, and they see the books that I've written, that's the one that's probably the cheapest. It's also the one that's got a lot more information that fans care about. So, yeah, it's an idea.
Yeah. Really, really enjoyed it, Nick. Unfortunately, on Amazon UK, they only had second-hand copies, so I don't think you get any royalties for that, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
Not.
But it was a really good read, so I would definitely
Thank you.
Welcome another one if you get the time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Well, it's 2 o'clock on the dot, and it's been you guys pulled through. I didn't think we had 6 calls. That's 5 more than I thought we'd have. So it was good stuff. We went all over the world too. Went to Germany, England, Vegas. It was good. San Angelo, Texas. Good stuff for sure. So, all right. We're done. I don't even know what Chris is saying. Chris, I don't know what you're saying, man, but it's 2 o'clock.
You said 2 o'clock on the dot. I was like, you got your drop top.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't know what you're saying. I can't process as I'm trying to riff at the same time. That's why I'm not a rapper. One of the reasons why I'm not a rapper. All right, let's go. Let's get out of here. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. This could be the last show of the week. Probably not going to have 1 o'clock on Thursday. If we can move it back, we will. We'll let you know for sure on what our schedule looks like Thursday. But if that's the end of it this week, we'll definitely be back next week for sure. Thanks to everyone. We'll see you next time on Cowboy Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?